He started it different last time, but I can't remember how.
I don't know. It would be funny if I said something like, "Stand by is over." You know what I mean? And we're rolling. If we had a clacker,
yeah.
you know? And we're rolling. That actually isn't...
Action.
That isn't bad. I think it would be funny to do something like off of the "Please stand by" at the end of our videos. You know?
At the end?
Well, no. Like, so, you know, how at the end we say "Please stand by."
Mm-hmm.
It'd be funny if we started it with, like, what's supposed to start videos instead of "Please," you know, "Please stand by," like, ends things.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be funny, like, to say, like...
And action.
Yes, or "and we're rolling."
I don't really like "and we're rolling."
Okay, welcome back to Talk Nerdy With Me podcast. We are your hosts, Brittany and Adam, and we're talking about
Well, we're talking about Black Widow, but we're also talking about not knowing what to intro with.
Okay, that was what we're talking about. Are we leaving that in? That's hilarious. Okay. Yeah, actually leave suggestions down below because I think it would be funny because we close out obviously by saying "Please stand by," so it would be fun to have something that like intros in a similar way. So if you have suggestions, leave them down below. But
We got nothing.
we're undecided. But we are actually talking about Black Widow today, the movie. So it's your turn to talk. I talked a lot just now.
We are talking about Black Widow today, and I'm excited. I really enjoyed the movie.
I mean, yeah. I was really excited about the Black Widow movie when we first heard that it was going to be something that they were doing. I mean, I didn't know how they were going to go about it because obviously when it got announced, Black Widow was already dead. So it was kind of confusing, but I was hyped. I mean, Black Widow is such a cool character to me. You know that until I was like 19 years old, I really thought I was going to be a spy. Did I ever tell you that?
You told me that.
Yeah, I was pretty convinced. So Black Widow was sick. And then it ended up being even better than I thought it would be, which is great because you even liked it and you were very on the fence about it. I mean,
I wasn't on the fence. I was just kind of nervous because I feel like she should have gotten a movie like in phase 1 or 2. So I think, like you mentioned, she's already dead. So like,
yeah,
kind of backtracking somewhere in the timeline just didn't really make sense unless it was an origin story. And that would have been cool, but this is kind of like a mix of an origin story, but it was also weird kind of where they placed it in the timeline. So when I found out it was in between Civil War and Infinity War, I was like, what could she possibly be doing that whole time to make us care? You know what I mean?
I was curious because I'm like, yeah, she went blonde.
Yeah,
do you
exactly.
remember that? Like, I was like, the moment that, oh God, what movie was it?
Infinity War.
Is it Infinity? Oh yeah, okay, so yeah. Infinity War is when it opens up and I remember looking at you in the theater and being like, why is she blonde?
Yeah.
And you were like, I don't think it matters. I'm like, why is she blonde?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I was hyped, obviously.
Yeah, but before it was announced, I was like, oh, she'll finally get an origin story and we'll figure out, how she became Black Widow and everything.
Yeah.
And then they announced it and they're like, no, it's after Civil War. And I'm like, well, I have no clue what's happening now.
Yeah.
And it was just cool because they tied it in. It was like a nice, fun one-shot. You know what I mean? It was a very, just like, fun action movie.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of The Winter Soldier, honestly. Just kind of like in the style
I could
of movie.
see it, especially because it has a lot to do with like a redemption arc of sorts.
Right.
Kind of,
yeah.
Well, I mean, like, it's
family,
kind
I guess.
of, well, it's on both ends, but Yelena obviously feels like Natasha, like, turned her back on her and, like, should have come back for her when everything happened and she feels abandoned, so it's a redemption arc on that end, but it's also, like, Yelena's own redemption arc since, like, she feels so guilty about, like, all of the things that she did while under mind control. And also, Natasha thought that she had killed this guy.
Oh, yeah.
From the start. Like, she was like, that was how I switched over to S.H.I.E.L.D. So finding out that was never something that happened, that she'd been abandoning all those girls, like, she obviously needed to rectify that situation. I just thought it was, like, a really well done redemption arc.
Yeah.
Like, in how Winter Soldier is. Because obviously, Captain America always believed in Bucky, but, like, Bucky needed to believe in himself, too. So
yeah. I don't really think... Winter Soldier wasn't really a redemption arc, though. I know he saves him at the end, but... I see what you're getting at.
You really don't think so? I think it was kind of a redemption arc.
No, he killed a bunch of people.
Well, yeah, that's
that actually
true.
Started everything that went wrong.
Okay, that's true. But I mean, like, in the end, like the way the end goes,
yeah. It's like the beginning of the redemption.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the Winter Soldier is honestly probably like a top 5 Marvel movie, honestly.
See, I never loved
opinion.
it.
Really?
Yeah, that was never my favorite.
It just, in my opinion, it's like the best movie. Like, just the way it was, shot, directed, like the script, like it was just start to finish intense. The story was like a real.
I mean, I can see why you would think that, but like, I mean, this one, we were both talking about how we loved that it felt like a just classic action movie.
No, exactly. That's why I said they were kind of similar.
I could see that. Yeah. I could definitely, well, because they both don't have people with superpowers, like not really. Real superpowers. Yeah. It's very one-on-one fight scenes in both of the movies, so I could totally see what you mean there.
Right. This one was cool because they really had a perfect balance of origin story mixed with like her family and all that.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I really liked that they showed them as kids. Yeah. Like, I mean, it was kind of confusing at first because I didn't know if like they were actually related. Same. And then it kind of like clicks into place that
I had to look it up after. I was still asking her like throughout the movie.
Even like the reason, like the entire time, Natasha's child character is very like serious, very grim, very like already depressed, basically, you know? And I was pretty confused about that until later you find out that they'd only been in that mission for 3 years. So before that, Natasha had already been getting trained in like the Red Room or whatever it is. And so she knew what was going on. She knew this wasn't her family and she knew that it was all an act. And that's just so sad to me, you know? And it's even...
She was aware the whole time.
Yeah, she's aware that it's like gonna come to an end. And like even just when it comes to an end, like she was so attached to the parents and to Yelena and she was like, don't touch her, I'll kill you. Yeah. And it was just... Because at first, you know, when you first watch it through, that scene's so confusing because you're like, how do you already know how to kill people? No wonder they wanted you to be like who you end up being. Right. But then you realize she had training.
Yeah, no, and especially like the part like right before they end up being taken away, she's like, please don't take her, she's 6, you know what I mean? So she's like, I already know what happened to me, please don't do it to her too. Yeah. And so it's that much more sad that she ended up having to comply that entire time for the mission and then just being brought right back into it and having it, I'm sure it got even worse.
Well, I mean, and even the mom being like, you were younger, you know what I mean? Like that's not a good reason. Yeah. I feel like the parents were such a they did it really well.
The parents were like awesome, you know what I mean? Like the way it ended up being once they finally got like deeper into the movie.
I think they did it perfectly because like not only was the mom brainwashed already, she was also one of the girls.
You know, she was in charge of it. Like,
she was a Black Widow. Yeah. Like she was, and then she obviously still felt like she had to comply. But even when she was closer to the girls, she didn't want to. Like she wanted to be their mother. But with separation, just like everything that happens, just the parents, they did it so well because they were good spies, but that kind of got attached. Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah. We'll probably get back to the dad, but I just wanted to say how dark it was. Like I really didn't know what the story was going to be based off of. Like we knew of the Black Widows. Yeah. But, you know, the beginning, and it just throws you right into that Smells Like Teen Spirit cover, and it was creepy. It was dark. Yeah. I forgot it was a Marvel movie for a second.
I mean, I figured it was going to have to be just because like the way that the flashes of Black Widow's past that we see in Age of Ultron, was it? Mm-hmm. When like Scarlet Witch is in her mind, like you see the flashes of like the ballet and like the tinkling music and like the door shutting and you know that like she gets like surgery to be infertile basically. Like you know it's going to be dark if it's going into that, and it's even creepier to see it happening to like 6-year-olds, you know, and knowing it was 4-year-olds, you know, it's just like a weird situation, and then you keep seeing more and more girls get added on, and even the way they talk about it, they're like girls are expendable. Yeah, there's always more. Yeah, and like only like 1 in how many like make it through training? It's like 1 in 32. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it was weird because that was honestly the most disgusting villain we've had. You know what I mean? Like that was just.
And he was like technically in charge of everything. Like he had his fingers in every pot. Like it was weird, and like it makes sense. It's like I think what's creepiest about him is like that's a villain that could actually exist. Yeah. You know, like that's a villain that probably does exist.
It's what makes the movie, like obviously, you know, superpowers aside, it's what makes it feel like, you know, with given technology, like that's not something unfortunate that's like too far-fetched, you know what I mean, like mind control or trafficking or anything like that. So but
I mean the mind control maybe a little bit.
Well, yeah, but
I'm hoping
you know what I mean,
but like just that whole plot in general, like girls being taken and like just being forgotten, like it's just a sad situation. And I really love like the kind of way that the story progresses because they're both really still focused on like freeing all the girls. And I love that.
Yeah.
You know?
That was one thing. Like, again, this kind of, in my eyes, this movie was still kind of a one-shot. You know what I mean? Like, it gave us the villain, it gave us a story, but it is still weird to consider this happened before Infinity War. So it just happened, and then the fallout, you know what I mean? Like, we don't really hear about it otherwise.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but it's just like, this is big. And it's funny, too, considering it happened so close to the Winter Soldier. Like, we saw when the government was infiltrated and all the S.H.I.E.L.D. information was leaked. This is similar, because now we find out that there's there's women all over the world that are controlled by this guy. You know what I mean? So now, obviously, at the end there, it's up to Yelena, you know what I mean, to hopefully free them. And I'm sure we'll get into more information on that later. But it was just,
they destroyed the system.
I know, but you don't know what that means. Does everyone just kind of like be free now, or? Because when she gave her that file, it seemed like you had more to do. You know what I mean?
That's fair. But I feel like, I guess that's true, because they could just be going off whatever directives they had.
Yeah.
But obviously new ones wouldn't be getting made.
Yeah.
But I think it's even funny to think, like, I think that we're going to get a lot more on it. Like, I loved the introduction of Yelena. Like, we both loved her.
Great.
She was amazing. She just has, like, a great sense of humor, like, just dry and witty and dark, but like, it was amazing, and she encompasses it so well that I just feel like she's definitely going to bring more to the story. Like, whenever we see her next, like, we're gonna probably get more about what happened to the girls, you know? Like, I just don't see that not being part of her.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. But yeah, it was weird because this is like a big villain. You know what I mean?
He's huge. It's almost like an Ultron situation, you know? Like,
I wouldn't say Ultron, but it's definitely it feels like Hydra.
Well, no, he even said
it feels like Hydra. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but like he even says, like, with the push of a button, I can send everyone or I can like kill off a third of the population. I think that's exactly the things he said, and like that gives me like very strong like Ultron vibes, because he's like, I can bomb anyone I want right now, you know?
Yeah. It was interesting though, because obviously this is like the Russian side of things, and the Russian version of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's S.H.I.E.L.D. Hydra, and then the Russian one's Leviathan. So they didn't name drop them. I was kind of wondering if they would the whole time.
Wait, I thought, when did we hear about Leviathan? Like, what?
Agent Carter.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Leviathan is like their version of like their intelligence agency. And I'm guessing that's what gave Alexei, the superhuman strength to be Red Guardian.
I think that whole thing is interesting. Like, I wish we'd known more about it, like, understood more about it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously, his mind's a little messed up, because he definitely thought that he was fighting Captain America when Captain America had been frozen already.
Yeah.
Like,
he was so funny. He was just, like, a total, like, I think, like, an oaf is just, like, the best way to describe him.
Yeah, he was just always, I don't know, maybe, because you know how, like, the super serum is supposed to enhance yourself? Like, whatever you are as a human being, it's supposed to enhance, which is why, like, Red Skull goes evil, Captain America goes so good.
Kind of a vague thing to quantify, but yes, that's what they've been telling us this whole time.
Right, but I mean, like, maybe he was just really dumb.
Yeah, no,
like, he could have been, like, a very good soldier, I guess, like, good with directions, but, like, maybe his head just, like, was not all there.
Yeah, he was just hilarious, because even, like, when he's having a whole conversation with his wife, and she's, like, not even in the room anymore.
Oh my god. Or when, at the end, like, with the, like, mics
he's
and
like,
everything.
Where's my earpiece? He's like, you don't have an earpiece.
No, and he was literally talking into the earpiece, and he's like, I can't hear anything, and she was, you don't have one.
He was great. I know, I'm sure they'll bring him back, but I just wonder where he goes from here, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because, like, that was kind of a redemption, but also, like, if you see the same Captain America, let's say he's trying to be on the good guy side now, like, he's not going to be buddies with Captain America. There's no way. You know what I mean? Hey, he's going to look like that. He sees Captain America.
Yeah, we're having a whole like MMA fight in here.
Just on site. But yeah, no, I think he was great. I'm sure they're going to bring him back, but it's just going to be interesting to see what kind of role he has moving forward.
They're going to have to bring him back, because obviously, like, the mom is who's going to probably have to produce more of the serum.
Yeah.
Because she's the one that has, like, maybe the most of the knowledge to be able to do it. She obviously was controlling the pigs. That scene was that was traumatic. Yeah. I didn't like it whatsoever. I mean, I understand why it was there, but I didn't. It made me really uncomfortable.
I wish they cut it just 30 seconds shorter. You know what I mean? Like, because we got the hint.
Yeah.
But, like, they really pushed it to the edge there. It's not like they were going to, kill the animal on screen. And obviously, I'm sure, like...
I mean, I just feel like there could have been, like, anything else. Like, you could have done anything else to prove that you had complete control.
Yeah.
But also, I kind of get it, because, like, the kind of control to get something to just decide to stop breathing and to, like...
It made its point.
It makes its point, because, like, even when you're drowning, you still breathe in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not supposed to, like, that's what they say, is, like, you breathe in the water because you need to so bad. So it kind of makes sense, because when you're showing that this pig knows it's about to die, and it can't breathe, and it's still not breathing in, like, that is defying everything that's in your brain that's telling you what to do. You know, like, it's kind of crazy, but I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
It was weird.
I agree. I did like the twist, though, that the mom was on their side. After a second, I kind of thought it was a little predictable, but like not in a bad way. I was just like happy
I was
that
so
the whole
happy.
family was in on it.
She could have gone either way.
Yeah.
Like, the mom could have gone either way. And
it would have made sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because, like, she, you know, she was raised in that way, too.
And she's partly, like, kind of controlled herself. At least I think so.
Well, I mean, I wish that they'd kind of talked about it a little bit more, but the whole prospect that, like, their olfactory nerve, like, if they can smell the guy's pheromones, then they can't kill him or harm him. Like, that's such an interesting idea already. And she said that that's drilled into every single widow. Like, she was already drilled into that kind of mind control. Like, that's such a weird thing to think about. You know, like, how did you do that? What does it mean?
I know. I thought, I hate to say it, but I think that was one of the only two things I was kind of like, I didn't like, it was fine, but it was a little bit weird. Like, you felt it coming when they said, like, you just knew she was going to break her nose to, like, sever the nerve. I mean, but like, I was just, like, I don't know. I could have dealt with something else. It just seemed kind of, like, weird that she would just know to do that. It would just automatically work, you know what I mean? Like, she could just break it and then, okay, I can hit him. And then to break it back afterwards is just kind of, like, an odd sequence.
No, that wasn't, like... She was resetting it.
I know.
Because you can just set because it's cartilage.
Yeah.
You're supposed to actually set a nose right after. That way you don't have to, like, have a crooked nose.
Yeah, she just broke that thing.
Well, it's painful as hell to put it back into place,
I'm
too.
sure.
It's like, you know, when you pop your shoulder out of place, you just kind of, like, pop it back in.
Yeah.
But in the middle of your face.
Yeah.
But, I mean, she went through a lot worse training, probably. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, it was, I don't know, it was just kind of, like, funny. And then the only other thing I didn't really, like, love was the falling out of the helicarrier.
I liked it.
It was fun. I loved it in the sense of...
There was so much going on.
It was a great action scene.
Yeah.
I didn't like it in the fact both these people are human, and they just landed at the end. Like, they just landed.
I mean, no, there was a parachute.
But they just landed.
Yeah, that's how a parachute works.
Just, like, duck and rolled and got right back up and started fighting.
If you can fall correctly, you can fall from a huge distance.
I know, but they were very, very high.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the parachute pulled your back enough, like, to not, you know, break anything.
Yeah, but
if you know how to take it.
I get that, but, like, even the scene just kind of fighting, like, running around up there, I don't know. I thought it was a little bit much.
I liked it.
If I was 12, I would have absolutely loved it.
Did you just call me 12?
No. I just said if I was 12, I would have definitely appreciated it a lot more. But I feel like Marvel most of the time does pretty well with, like, grounding stuff, and that scene just felt a little over the top. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know. I didn't think so.
No.
I liked it in the end. Like, I like how they did it. I just thought it was cool.
It was cool.
The only thing that I will say about that scene is that I do think that for having been falling that entire time, it might have gone on too long.
Yeah, okay. I think that's what we're good on then. It was just too, like, I think over the top, but you're right. It went on too long, so, like, I just had to kind of analyze it a little bit longer. I'm like, why are they still falling?
Yeah, no, the still falling is what probably is just way too long. Like, it should have been
falling for 13 minutes.
Literally. Yeah, no, I mean, that's probably where you're thinking. Yeah. Because I think the parachute was okay. Okay. It's just that, like, literally for all the jumping from building to building, like, falling pieces of building, like, you kind of were doing that for a while. Yeah. But...
Yeah, and then we don't need much time on this, but I also wish that the girls ended up killing Dreykov instead of Yelena just kind of, I don't know what she did. She drove a pipe in the plane or something like that.
That was the last hurrah though. Like, they were about to get away.
Yeah, no, all of them. Yeah. So it was cool because they all died, but especially after Black Widow, they threw up the thing and all the girls were freed.
That scene.
Yeah, but I thought they were gonna turn around and kill him. Like, I thought that was gonna be kind of them getting their revenge. But it was nice that they can just be free and be done with it. So I feel that.
I mean, they'd already gotten out of the plane too late. Like, they were already off. Like, Dreykov was about to get away. Like, his whole team was about to get away. They were on, like, that helicarrier when the girls were barely running out. And so, like, Yelena risking it all to jump onto it, like, that was the only way. I kind of see what you mean. Like, it would have been cool. Yeah. But I also really, really liked how Yelena did it. Because, like, she was... It
ended all of them.
Well, she was willing to die, too. Yeah, like, she was about to die. She was actually falling when Black Widow literally hurled herself towards her, put the parachute on her, and, like, released it, you know? Right? That's what happens.
Yeah. And no, actually, the more I think about it now, the reason they couldn't have is back to the olfactory thing. They would still breathe this pheromone. So that's actually, I'm sure, why they didn't do it that way. Because that would have just been, like, a poetic kind of ending. like for them to finally turn around
Yeah.
and kill him. But it also would have been more on the gruesome side when it's like we kind of just want these girls to be free and get on with their life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but no,
Not that he
you're
wouldn't
right.
deserve it.
Right,
Like, he definitely would. But
It just feels like
burning
he just
alive also
deserves-
seemed pretty painful.
Yeah, but you just feel like there has to be even a worse death for someone that terrible. You know what I mean?
No, I mean 100%.
Yeah.
But hopefully there's some justice in some kind of multiverse where like they just turn around and kill him like
Yeah.
that.
They have no noses in this world.
They have nose plugs.
Yeah. Aside from that, the only thing that I kind of wish they did a little bit better was Taskmaster. And I loved the twist. Don't get me wrong. I actually didn't see that coming.
But how sick was it that I did?
Oh, okay. She called the twist.
No, it was cool, right? Though.
Yeah, no, it was great. I didn't see it coming.
No, because
honestly.
it was right before it happened, maybe like a minute or two, and I was like, how much do you want to bet that that's the daughter?
Yeah, leading into that scene once Natasha finally took like the face mask off. Yeah, you did call it in there.
No, that was sick. Like, I felt very cool in that exact moment. I was like, oh, wow. I used my brain. But, like, it makes sense, too, because we were even talking about, we were kind of rewatching it right before this, and you were mentioning how you didn't understand how Dreykov got away, like, when she blew up the building, and I mentioned how it's because Natasha was going based off the daughter. Like, she just assumed that the daughter was with the dad the entire time, but we don't actually know if Dreykov was there. And if he was, who's to say that he didn't have some kind of secret hatch under his desk to like protect against bombs?
The reason I brought it up is because there is a scene where you see the girl walking in and a guy at a desk, so you assume it's him at the desk.
You do assume,
but again,
also it's like it's a window scene, you know, and like you do definitely see the girl.
And it could have just been like Natasha's imagination, him being in there.
No, I think there was definitely a man, but it's just like it's hard to know if he didn't have some kind of like hatch under his desk to protect against explosions, like things like that, or even. It would be kind of weird if it was like a holograph or something like that, but his daughter, like, I really do think that was a good redemption arc for Black Widow. Yeah. Because she obviously is always going to feel guilty about it.
It was almost kind of like, you almost don't even acknowledge the redemption part of that. You know what I mean? Because that's almost like living with this guilt this entire time. You kind of get that lost in the rest of the story.
Well, I think that Yelena makes it very clear that, like...
You killed his daughter.
Yeah, that she messed up. She was like, that's a messed up thing to do. Like, you brought in an innocent person, another girl. Well, she even says, like, another girl. Like, it's worse, obviously, than what was done to them in some ways. And I think that was such a necessary point. I thought it was a little cheesy because, like, how would that happen? Like, you've been so mind controlled, like, for so long, and now you're just gonna, like, kind of forgive and forget for the most part. Like, I thought that might have been a touch cheesy, but it's exactly what I wanted.
For the Taskmaster to forgive Natasha?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
like, to even see, like, her finally... Oh, I guess, like, she does rip out, like, whatever was in her...
I don't know if it was a chip or what it was, but yeah, she did something that made her her.
It was crazy that, like, somewhere in that chip, it was programmed for her to never blink. Like, did you catch that?
I think so, yeah.
Because, like, she doesn't blink. Like, that's why they're, like, her stare's creepy. But then, like, the moment that the chip comes out, like, she cries. Like, she, like, closes her eyes and, like, is crying a little bit.
It's gotta hurt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if that was, like, already just, like, a natural thing that was happening, then that would be okay, I guess. But you're telling someone not to blink. Yeah. They can't do that for very long.
Yeah. But I thought they made a good point of, like, explaining it. Like, the Taskmaster character.
Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise it doesn't really make sense for your power to be like mimicking other people, you know what I mean?
I agree.
I can't remember too much of the Taskmaster's actual origin story, like the character in the comics, but I thought this did a good way of saying like she's programmed to like analyze your fighting style.
It grounded it a lot. Like how you said that Marvel does a really good job in grounding things. I think that's where they succeeded in this one.
But it just sucks because you don't really feel scared of Taskmaster at any point. Like that in the trailer, I feel like she got more screen time, it felt like in the trailer than in the movie. And you see here, she's like, oh, I got the Black Panther claws, I got the shield, I got the bow. And
no one was taking the shield. We talked about this.
They just kept throwing it and no one wanted it.
Yeah, like she would literally throw the shield at them and I'm like, grab the freaking shield. Like you can at least hold on to it, you know?
The shield. And she just didn't really feel that scary, honestly.
Oh,
like,
no,
the whole
I
time,
honestly...
It almost felt like she was just kind of like trailing behind, like she's coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it never felt like she was actually there. Like, you were in danger because she was there.
Well, no, for me, at least in the beginning, like, up until the scene where, like... Taskmaster appears with Black Widow and Yelena, like in the subway system kind of thing, I was still like pretty intimidated by this person. Yeah, I mean she was beating them up. Like there was no chance for them, like basically. Like it's crazy that they even got to hide and it was mostly because of the blood trail, you know what I mean? And I thought it was actually cool that Black Widow took her into where her and Hawkeye had hid. Like that was a really nice like full circle kind of moment.
Yeah, well, did you know in the first Avengers when they're fighting the Chitauri, there's a scene where she's like, "This reminds me of Budapest."
No,
and
yeah.
he was like, we have two very different memories of how that went down.
Yeah, because she's having like a great time. No,
so, that was funny.
And that makes sense actually in some way because like in Budapest, like she would have been having a great time. Like she just like took down the organization that had taken her under like hostage, and she was like hiding, and he was like, "This is terrifying."
Yeah, we're stuck here being attacked by the government for 10 days and hiding.
Yeah, it's just like I have a friend. Either way, I was still pretty intimidated by Taskmaster in the very beginning, but I do love that at the end it wasn't Taskmaster being a bad person. It was still her being controlled by Dreykov. Right. Like, it's so disgusting to think that, like, even his own daughter was not exempt from, like, the way that he treated, like, girls. It's so gross. Like, what he did to his daughter is probably even worse than anything else.
Yeah. Because she just didn't have any control. Like, she was basically a robot.
She didn't have any control, and you want to assume that it was because, like, her mind had been hurt. Like, that's what he says. But when the chip's removed, she's fine. Yeah. She's a person. Like, she's a normal person. That means that he willingly did that to his daughter. That's disgusting. Like, it was so weird. Yeah. Like, he's such an evil villain. Like, definitely
evil.
Like, pure evil.
Yeah. Oh, I think the biggest thing was that the fact, like, I know the Black Widows are trained to be, like, some of the most deadly assassins. But with all the weapons that Taskmaster had, it's hard for me to see them putting up a fight. Does that make sense? So
what do you mean?
Like
who putting up a fight?
Natasha and Yelena. Does that make sense? That's why I wasn't intimidated, because he should have been able to just kill them on sight.
Oh!
With all the weapons. They have no armor or anything. You know what I mean? They're just using evasion to get away from them.
Okay, actually what I loved, like, kind of on that same frame of mind, but, like, what I really liked about this one was how much they showed, like, the pain of being a regular human.
Yeah. She's
like,
getting shot, she's bleeding out in the arm.
No, I mean, like, even, like, just the bruising that Natasha has. Like, I mean, you see her get thrown around in the very beginning, like, on that bridge scene, and it hurts. Like, you see her get, like, thrown into a car, and you're like, you're a freaking normal human. Like, this is going to be painful. And then when she's, like, getting bandaged up with Yelena, and she's, like, picking up her shirt, and she's just mottled with bruises. Yeah. It was kind of, I don't know, I thought it was a good moment. Yeah. You know, because we kind of forget that she
gets the shit beat out of her every time literally something like this goes down.
Like, she should probably have died before she actually died. You know what I mean? Like, it was a wild moment.
And as she goes, Yelena was like, yeah, the Asgardian probably doesn't need to take an ibuprofen after his
I
fight.
love that. Yeah, no, that little clip was such a good moment. She has so many good lines. Like, Yelena has so many good lines. Oh my gosh. The vest. We have to talk about the vest.
Yeah,
I've been emo about that for like a while now.
I thought it was weird. I almost felt like it was pushed a little bit more than it needed to be. Because don't get me wrong, like, I get now we understand, first of all, why she got the vest in Infinity War. And, like, it is sad because when everyone starts disappearing at the end, she does grab it. Like, she's like, I don't know if Yelena got dusted.
Oh, wow. I don't remember that scene.
Yeah, that's, like, the first thing she does is, like, she sees everyone disappearing and, like, she grabs her vest at the end.
Oh, yeah.
But that's really all I took from it. Like, I don't really see, like, this other, like, backstory to it. She just, like, the vest gave it to her, and then that's, like, the memento she has. But obviously it is sad because this is the last time, you know, they meet.
What I do think is, like, I mean, I think it's just something that might have to be brought up later. I feel like Yelena probably didn't disappear in the dusting, you know what I mean? And she kind of kept talking about all the pockets, and I know it was kind of more of a joke than anything else. I feel like there has to be something else to it. Like, what was in one of those pockets? You know what I mean? Like, one of the secret compartments and stuff like that. Yeah. Oh. I don't know. I just feel like they made a really big point of it. And I know it was a joke.
It was a letter or something.
I know, but, like, it would be cool if there's, like, a scene, because obviously at the end we see, like, Yelena talking to Valentina. And I think it would be cool if in her movie or wherever she is in next, we have kind of like a flashback scene of, like, them kind of being together in those 5 years, just because they deserve it.
I know.
You know?
I know. It's funny because I was saying at the end of Infinity War and Endgame, like, even considering, you know, we lost Natasha, we lost Iron Man, it still almost didn't feel like enough people died, as terrible as that is, just because of how big of a scale event it was. But some people needed to die, you know what I mean? So for them to go is what it was, and obviously Iron Man was heartbreaking for literally everyone. I didn't really care that much when she died, unfortunately. I was hoping it'd be Hawkeye.
I was really hoping it was going to be Hawkeye.
As terrible as that is, but it was just kind of like, she's dead, sucks, we're sad, and then kind of whatever. But this, made you backtrack and feel sad about it. Does that make sense?
Well,
when you saw the end and you see Elena go to the grave.
Well, and have you seen the comparisons between the moment where she's like going to the grave, because she does the whistle tone that Natasha's supposed to say back, and then she presses her forehead against the gravestone, like they press each other's foreheads against each other, like when they were kids and stuff like that. And it was really sad.
Yeah, it was like I was like retroactively sad after watching this. Like if this came out before, I feel like I would have been way more impacted in the moment. You know what I mean? That's why timing just felt so weird for this one to come out so late.
I just feel like they had to do it this way, especially because of like the Valentina timeline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she appears in Captain or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah. And I think it was
she was supposed to come in this first. This was supposed to come out before Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This was supposed to be the first time we met Valentina. So we would have had no idea who she was.
Wow, that would have been very confusing.
Yeah, they said, because they kept saying in Falcon
she would have definitely seemed like a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like if we had seen this first.
She's essentially like a bad Nick Fury is what she's kind of doing.
Well, she's kind of
all these other
like
people.
an anti-villain situation.
Well, we don't really know.
Yeah.
So, and it's weird. I think one thing that was weird about the interaction is that she's pretty much saying, hey, this guy killed your sister. You know what I mean? So go kill him. And it's just like, well, I thought the point was to get Yelena away from being an assassin. I thought we were saving people now. So I'm really curious about that dynamic.
Well, I just even think, like, the entire revenge dynamic's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because, like, Yelena knows how much, like, Hawkeye means to Natasha.
Kind of.
She
mentioned it plenty of times.
She knows. Like, I mean, even, like, in Budapest where she's like, what are these? She goes, those are arrows.
Yeah.
You know, like, arrow marks and things like that. And when they're hiding up in the tunnel system and whatever, like she knows. Yeah. It's just like a weird situation because obviously you kind of want answers, but I just don't know if she would ever get revenge.
Yeah. And I obviously we know nothing and that's the point, but you really have no clue what Val is trying to do, because obviously she recruited John Walker.
Well, and that entire time I thought she was evil, but then John Walker really does have a solid redemption arc. Yeah. And so when he's still working with her, it makes you think that she can't be fully evil.
Yeah.
You know?
So everyone's been saying, and we mentioned this in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is that she's trying to set up what's called the Thunderbolts, which is a team of borderline anti-heroes. This could be the Sergeant or General. Who's Ross? Secretary of State Ross. Because he's technically the Red Hulk. He was the one in the beginning who was trying to take Natasha from the government. Yeah. He's the Red Hulk still, so he's usually a part of it. Zemo's a part of it. You know, we got John Walker. Yelena apparently would be a part of it. It's pretty much like anti-heroes, but especially with like everything going on, I just can't see exactly what their goal would be.
Yeah.
Because it's almost, you think of it kind of like a Suicide Squad almost. So they're anti-heroes looking for either redemption or a shortening of a sentence if they're actually bad. But yeah, I just don't really know what their end goal is. And for her to just kind of be, you know, recruiting John Walker in one scene and saying, hey, we're going to need you. And then her saying, hey, go kill Hawkeye now. It feels very different sides of.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Goal. Like if this was supposed to come out first. Yeah. It's such an interesting thought that we would have definitely assumed Val was evil. Yeah. Like right off the bat. So if we had seen her in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like when she intros, we would have already been like, oh God, this is bad. This is trouble. Right. You know, but then, okay, so what we're leaving off on is that she can't be all bad because.
She's up to something. That's just all it is. But yeah, so apparently she's going to go hunt down Hawkeye now. I hope she beats his ass, honestly. But I am so excited for her to finally meet Kate Bishop. I feel bad
for Hawkeye. I mean, like, mostly because I know that in the comics he's supposed to be so cool.
Not really. I've always thought he was lame.
Oh, no. What? I feel like I hear all the time that Hawkeye is supposed to be, like, sick in the comics.
I mean, like, his jokes are probably taken a lot better. Like, I think his one-liners have always been kind of lame.
Well, he was supposed to be, like, cool.
Not really.
Yes, he is.
Says who?
Everyone.
I mean, for me personally, the reason I never liked the Avengers before the movies was just because the grouping was always just kind of weird. You know, it was Captain America, Iron Man, the Hulk, and then you have the two humans, Scarlet Widow. Scarlet
Widow.
Black Widow. And Hawkeye. And
I always want to call her Scarlet Witch, too.
But they're really just secret agents, you know? But I always thought grouping was just weird. So I never really.
But I mean, especially that's because you're comparing it to like DC. Because you were DC, like solid DC fan before.
Oh, but that's also what I'm getting at. Is it's hard to like Hawkeye when you have Green Arrow on the DC side, who's just so much cooler in every word.
He definitely
every
is.
way.
Yeah.
So
I mean, agreed.
That's like my personal just why I don't really like Hawkeye too much. No, but seeing this just makes me excited because this means Yelena is gonna meet and probably fight Kate Bishop.
Right, the daughter.
No, not
Or,
the
well,
daughter.
not the daughter, but, like, the person he takes under his wing.
Right, which is played by Haley Steinfeld. And so that is going to be a very fun interaction when they finally meet.
They're both such good actresses, too.
Well, it's just cool because I think the dynamic will be great. I think they will have,
they have
good
similar
on-screen chemistry.
vibes.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I can just see, like, because what's going to happen is they're going to meet, they're going to fight, and they're going to be like, wait, we're on the same side probably. And then they're probably just going to be BFFs,
Besties.
you know what I mean? And I can already see that coming, and I think it's great already.
Well, because they both have such, like, awkward senses of humor.
Yeah.
Like, in general, like, as humans, they do.
Yeah.
And that's normally the person that they play is, like, the kind of girl next door, like, funny kind of person. They would be great best friends. That's
honestly what I'm most excited about the Hawkeye series. Because even when that got announced, I'm like, I just don't really care for more Hawkeye. But when they announced what it is him training Kate Bishop to take over the mantle, I was like, okay, now I'm kind of down for this.
I didn't even realize there was a Hawkeye series.
That's where we're getting introduced. That's where Yelena's going to pop up again, in the Hawkeye series.
I've kind of been wondering.
Yeah.
That's
where we're going to
sense.
get introduced to Kate Bishop. And again, it's cool because there's like two ways Marvel's going right now. It's like cosmic magic, Doctor Strange and all them. And then on the other end, it's like all the humans are just doing other stuff. So this is probably going to eventually tie in with like Armor Wars and all those other things.
It has to. I feel like that's really where it's going to come through, especially with like Val and everything like that, because she's not part of the government, you know, but like she still has access in some ways to like the same information. I just feel like it's going to be useful in that. Especially, I mean, with the way that Falcon and Winter Soldier ended. Yeah. But no, I mean, besides that, I just really, I loved it. Like, I really did. Yeah,
I thought it was really... It was nice seeing an actual movie again. I mean, I feel like it's because we've seen all these series.
The TV shows.
And they're great. Obviously, they've, got the production. They're all really long. Like, in total, these come out to almost, like, 5-6 hours, the series. But it was cool just sitting.
Like a one shot.
I forgot what it was like to watch a movie, especially a Marvel movie.
Well, they're so good at moving the story. Like, you don't feel too rushed in most situations. Like, I just feel like they're solid at that. And obviously in the TV show, since they have more time, you can kind of feel a little bit more like on the edge of your seat, like cliffhanger kind of stuff. Yeah. But yeah, no, the movie, it was just really good. And I thought that it gave Black Widow a personality that like they never really let her have in the other movies, you know?
And it sucked because I always felt like as the movies went on, they had her do like less and less.
Yeah.
Because like when she first popped up in Iron Man,
she was
and I think
so
Iron
cool.
Man 2, so cool.
She was so
like that
cool.
first scene was probably like the coolest thing she did for like the next couple movies. You know what I mean? Like they would try to give her one really cool action scene where she does her flip around the neck, goes upside down, whatever. But it just like as it went on, they gave her less of a role. She had less lines. She almost just became awkwardly sarcastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she was just always kind of like in the back.
She was just on the outskirts the whole time. Yeah. So I really did like how this gave her not only redemption as a character, but like, you know what I mean? It really felt her feel more involved and made us like really care about her.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously be sad again that she's dead, but
yeah. So. Well, I mean, I just think it also explained her motives so much better, you know? Like we always hear like there's red in my ledger like over and over again, and like we don't really kind of get what that means, like the all-encompassing term of it. But it's not even like, I don't even think that S.H.I.E.L.D. is holding her accountable for the people she assassinated while she was a widow. But also kind of interesting that like she still kept the name Black Widow.
I know, I was thinking that too. You think that's like a scarlet letter almost. You kind of just like, hey, let's forget this ever happened.
Yeah, no, seriously. But like it's also just interesting to think that she was probably just holding herself accountable with a guilty conscience over the daughter that entire time. Like she's just trying to make up for it. Yeah. And just the people she abandoned. I also really loved like it was a found family trope. Yeah. Definitely. Which is my favorite trope of all time. But it was funny because it's like a real family that like was pretend family, but then was like, actually we are kind of family. Yeah. And I love the way that the dad's always like, you guys are my daughters, and they're like, we literally are not related.
Yeah, he was so funny.
Like when they're like rescuing him and he's like, I knew you girls would never forget about your dad, and they're like, we hate you. Yeah. Like we literally hate you.
We didn't need you, you'd still be in jail.
Yeah. Like that whole scene was so funny to me. His whole personality was hilarious. Yeah. He was...
Well, couldn't he have broken out of jail at any time?
No.
He kicked through a metal door.
Well, he kicked through a metal door, but we also saw that he needed someone to carry him away. Does that make sense? Because like he was never gonna be able to run through a glacier. Yeah. You know, like he was in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Like so, yeah. I guess he could have broken out, but he also just knew that like there was nothing out there for him. Yeah. And then the mom being just, she was very mom-like. Mm-hmm. She was very mom-like and kind of weird. Like they were all so weird, and I loved it. Like
it worked.
Yeah, it worked really well, and they all were really funny in weird ways. I don't know. So. Well, I do think, though, the only thing that I want answers on still, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of things, like, as far as the family goes, that I would like answers on, but I really do want to know why he was given the serum. You know, like, we see the action...
him be chosen?
Yeah, like, we see the action figure, we see all this stuff, like, we see that his mind's kind of, like, messed up from it, because he's obviously kind of confused about the whole situation. Like, I wish we'd gotten maybe a little bit more information on that, and it would have been really cool to have seen it in Falcon and the Winter Soldier when they were talking about all the other ones. Yeah. But I also think it would have pulled away from the more important story, but I just am curious now,
yeah,
you know?
I'm really just curious about how they got the serum, you know what I mean? If it was made by them, or because wasn't that the thing in Peggy Carter? Was that they were trying to steal the remaining serum?
Yeah, that's and Peggy Carter. I mean, I don't even think it's technically considered canon.
I don't think it
like
is.
In the new Marvel. No, that and Shield, Agents of Shield are not technically considered canon.
Peggy Carter is more than Shield is, I think, because they literally had Captain America in it. Didn't they?
No.
No?
No, it was after he died.
I know, but they still the opening scene, isn't it him going in the glacier?
Well, yeah. No, that's true. But I just think that the only reason that I would say it's more tied in, I guess, is because they didn't have as much time to kind of deviate from the plot. You know, like there's nothing that they could have done that changes anything for Marvel while S.H.I.E.L.D. was present time, you know? Mm-hmm. But I still think that they've actually said that so far, at least, it's not considered canon.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know.
Which sucks, because I liked them.
Yeah. I think at some point, especially if that were to get a season 3 or... Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s done, but it would be nice if they could at least acknowledge it, you know?
I think so too. But like I think that's a good point though, because Leviathan was definitely a huge part of that, and then so was like them trying to get the the super soldier serum, and like even I just want to know what they gave it to him for. We didn't see.
I'm sure it was just to have their own version.
Yeah. Because
this was during the Cold War.
Yeah, I always forget the Cold War goes like way up until like almost present, you know?
So, yeah, because that's what was interesting, especially because they went to Cuba.
Yeah.
So this is like taking place during the Cold War. So in their eyes, you know what I mean? They're like, hey, we need our version of Captain America. So I don't know what gave him the credentials to be chosen, but I'm sure he was probably just a standout soldier.
Yeah, but I'm also just curious, like, what messed him up? Like, what messed up his mind to make him think that he was fighting, like, actual Captain America? Because I don't think that was him. At first, I thought it was him being boastful, just being like, you really think I didn't fight him, you know? But, like, after a while, I kind of was like... Because the mom even says at one point to him, she goes, like, shut up. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You never fought Captain America. Yeah. Or, like, I thought that whole scene kind of sidetracked. But when he puts on his uniform, like, struggles his way into that tiny uniform.
It's and like
when he comes out there, and I thought the mom was not going to be into it, but she's like... Yeah.
She's like all for it.
Yeah, she was like, you look good. I was like, no. She's into it. She's like, you still look great. And he's like, yeah. And I think there's even like a part where he's talking to the girls and goes, we never faked that. We really did like each other. And I'm like, no. Yeah, I think it's when he's talking to Yelena, right? And she's like, please, I don't need to hear this.
Yeah. Her as the that whole dinner scene, but being just the youngest daughter was absolutely hilarious. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just like the way she played it off.
Well, and she was even like, you know, kind of a crybaby. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Like the youngest. Stubborn. Black Widow is literally like, we weren't even a real family. And she just like throws a whole fit.
I know, she just storms off.
Yeah, and the dad's like, I got this. Yeah. No, the family dynamic was done perfectly. I don't know. I'm glad that this movie happened.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. Same. Yeah, and it was overdue, like I said, but it worked out. Like, I'm happy with it, so...
I know you were talking in general, like, that this should have just been done earlier, but I'm thinking about how it was released on, like, Disney, like, Plus, and, like, the whole issue that now Scarlett Johansson actually is having because of that.
Oh, yeah. So, if you haven't heard, I think it was either a day or two ago, it looks like Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney, actually, which totally sucks, but the reason being is because in her contract, and this was her last contracted movie, obviously it was supposed to be released in theaters, and with COVID that got kind of derailed, so it came out in theaters but also on Disney Plus. But her salary was partly tied in with box office sales and numbers, so obviously she loses a lot of money on that because we're all streaming it. Like, some people were joking, it's like you go to the movie theater, you pay to watch it one time. I'm like, I watched it like 10 times in the span of like 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then I watched it with you, and your family probably watched it with you too, because like obviously it's your account.
And I paid $30 and that was it, just to watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Well, and everyone on the account can watch it. You know what I mean? Like that's, And plus, I mean, if it was in her contract to have the box office sales, like, I don't think there's anything in there that says you can have Disney Plus sales.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's probably actually the bigger issue. Like, besides the fact that, like, you can't track it as much, like, she probably literally doesn't even have anything in there that says you're getting part of this.
Right. And so apparently she lost, like, upwards of, I think, this might be wrong, but $50 million. And that doesn't sound off, you know what I mean? That sounds about right.
Well, it sounds like a lot, but it also is like Scarlett Johansson she's a top tier A-list actor.
Why there's a couple ways to look at this, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you really are just, like, I'm not going to say penny pinching because it's like, obviously you earned that,
but the thing is, it's like, she's not just like relying on that for herself, you know, like she's paying like everyone that like she employs, you know, like agents and managers and whatever assistants, and not to say that isn't like a shit ton of money, because obviously it is, but also it's kind of shitty that it's happening. And isn't it happening to the actress for Cruella as well? Yeah,
Emma Stone, I think. I don't know if she's actually suing or if she's considering because of the same situation. And it makes total sense, but I'm just more disappointed on like the Disney side of it. Because so again, she's suing them because she alleges that they breached the contract.
Because they weren't supposed to release it.
I didn't actually read it, but from what I saw, like in the article, it seemed like it was pretty clearly like, yes, this wasn't actually what they agreed on.
Yeah, it seems like she definitely was like, no, we can't release it on Disney Plus because of my contract, you know, and like they still kind of went and did it without her. Like accepting it,
right? But where it gets like really shitty is that Disney's lawyers came out and they're like, her claim is completely baseless, and they called her insensitive because of us dealing with COVID. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, like obviously with COVID, like, you know, being in a movie theater, I do see that part, but like Disney is just being shitty at that point.
I mean, they've also held off this long on airing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they've held off that long on airing it. Like it was supposed to come out a while ago, and I mean, I'm not saying I don't love that it got aired, because I do. But they could have held off longer. Like, this isn't technically something that you need for anything right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I know they have their schedule, especially, like, now, like, they got a rhythm going with, like, the series.
But there should have been something done about, like, the salary loss.
Right.
Like, that's really what it's about. It's not about, like, people being able to enjoy it from home. I'm sure she doesn't care about that. It's definitely going to be about the money.
Yeah, and that's what sucked, too, is because I'm pretty sure that first week they killed it. It was that second week when it was just like, if you didn't see it the first week, I'm buying it at home. You know what I mean?
Well, that's always how it is. Like, I mean, even think about like streaming services in general. Like the fact that Netflix like releases all of their episodes in one go. Like you watch that in one go. Like you sit down that week, and then that week on Twitter you see it everywhere. But if you miss that first week of a show coming out,
spoilers, and then
well, it's spoiled and no one cares after that. Like literally no one cares after that. Like that's why I think it's smart in general that Disney Plus at least does like the once a week for their episodes kind of thing. But yeah, any kind of streaming service, it's the hype in the first week and then everyone forgets about everything. Which sucks, but it's true.
So, but it sucks, and just, you know, Disney has probably the best lawyers that are alive, you know what I mean? So it's like really shitty, but I hope this at least ends in a settlement so Scarlett Johansson can get the money, at least a portion of it that was lost. But it's just, I was really bothered by like their like fire back saying,
I didn't know that they'd said that. That's
like, I don't know verbatim, like I totally could have butchered the quote, but they pretty much said like, this is baseless, you know what I mean? And it was baseless,
like, and they're like, I can't believe you're arguing about this.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
They're like, you're insensitive. Like,
it's like when people like, you know, when someone's like sad or something, it's like, why are you sad? There's people that have it way worse than you. You know, like it's kind of like one of those situations, and it's like, okay, dude, that doesn't mean that like her situation isn't messed up. Like you're not in the clear because tons of people have it worse.
Right. And it's like a bigger picture thing. Like this is kind of how I'm looking at it. It makes, you know, if this bridge were to get burned, that just feels like a horrible look for Disney. You know what I mean? Like even Kevin Feige came out and he's just like, I can't remember if he said I didn't want it to be on Disney Plus or something like that. But I'm pretty sure he was more on Scarlett Johansson's side. And then that just turns into a weird situation where it's like, you know, we got to draw the line in the sand. Like,
well, plus
we don't want people. Don't get me wrong, I'm not defending Disney, but I still want my Avengers to keep going.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's kind of one of those funny situations, too, because obviously this wasn't, I mean, I'm hoping it wasn't done on purpose, but, like, this is the only woman-only movie, you know, like
we got Captain Marvel.
Well, okay, that's true.
But she was first, like...
We did.
That's what bothers me, is that she should have come first, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, well, I guess, technically, if we're gonna go timeline-wise, Captain Marvel should have come out way earlier, you know what I mean? But, like... this is one of the only superhero movies that was just about a girl, and then you're gonna tell me this is the issue that you're having? Like, that's just wild. Like, it's just a bad look. I know that it's not like on purpose. It's just a bad look, definitely.
Yeah. So I really just hope they can get it resolved, just because if like, I don't know, it would just feel really, it would feel very DC-esque for something like this to drag out.
Yeah. Plus, like, I mean, you don't want to get into like a whole. She probably just wanted a settlement, you know?
And that's what I keep thinking, because you could see all the interviews she's been doing for like last week, like when she was talking about like the closeout, like how she's gonna miss the character, but like it's done with. They were all pretty positive, you know what I mean? So I don't think this is something she just woke up to and she's just like, hey, you guys owe me $50 million.
Yeah.
I think it was probably like hey, like we definitely need to meet halfway, but like I'm losing money because of how we decided to do this.
I also think though that like, I mean, just like seeing previous interviews from like all the other movies. It seems like Scarlett Johansson was never really taken seriously. You know what I mean? Like, as when she was interviewed, you know, like if you ever saw like all the cast members being interviewed, they'd be like, Robert Downey Jr., how do you feel about like where this is going or something? And then they'd like look at Scarlett Johansson and they'd be like, did you wear underwear under your suit? Like they would,
Really?
oh yeah, they would always do shit like that.
Really?
And it was really annoying. And like, luckily, like whenever she was with like the rest of the cast, like there'd be situations like where the cast members kind of like tried to draw attention away from it, that they're like, why aren't you asking Captain America if he wants to wear like boxer briefs under it?
Yeah.
Like, but those are literally like the questions that she gets asked in interviews.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
No, it's pretty shitty. And I was just like, because I just have fun watching like interviews and like game shows stuff like on there. And so like you catch it a lot. And so this seems like a great movie for her to have finally gotten like out of that kind of weird role that some people interviewing her still did. Like obviously not everyone did, but like a good amount still were doing it. And then like this happens, you know, where like she's not even getting like a full cut of the movie that she was supposed to get. Like that's just kind of shitty. Yeah. Like it's definitely probably a letdown for her. Like, and also because of the hype, you know, like now maybe it's not lasting as long as she thought it would.
Right.
Which sucks.
Yeah. So
especially because it's the last one.
I know. It's just this is the last movie. Unless she does like any voices for the cartoons or whatever. But yeah, it's shitty. I hope they get it resolved. I'm assuming it'll end in a settlement. It just sucks because knowing Disney and knowing their lawyers, they're not
so
going to back down. And they're not going to give like any kind of like leeway to this. And that's just a really shitty thing to look at, where it's like, you know what I mean? Like Disney, like the idea of Disney and then what Disney actually is are two very different things.
I love always seeing those like Mickey Mouse things where it's like him like doing like a hi guys and then like I fucking hate these kids or like, or, you know, like where it's like off camera and he's just like murdering someone.
Right. No, the South Park Mickey.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No. I mean, and that's. But the good thing is, I guess, that it did get brought to media, you know, like to social media so quickly. That way, if they're going to do it, they're going to look really bad while they do it, you know? Yeah. I don't know. It's just like a interesting thought, I guess. Not everything is about reviewing the movie. Yeah. But I did love the movie.
I did. It was really good.
Mm-hmm. It left me like so excited about Marvel movies again. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, I think the next one coming out is Shang-Chi, so.
I'm so excited for that. Like, I'm so excited about cool. it.
They just had another trailer that came out, too.
Yeah. Did they? Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to watch that after this. Yeah. Because I'm hyped. But, yeah. I guess that's it. That's all we have to really talk about, right?
Yeah, that's all.
Did you want to mention anything else?
I got nothing.
Okay. Well, then that's it. And I don't know what we're going to be talking about next. Probably Shang-Chi.
I don't think that comes out till September.
Right.
Oh, no. What If?
What If?
Yeah, What If's coming out in August. I don't know if... Maybe episode by episode? I just don't know how long it's going to be. So I don't know if we need one if they're all 20, 30 minutes. But I guess we'll just see how it is.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what our next episode's about. Maybe it won't be a Marvel-related one. Maybe we'll do something else.
Backtrack to Shadow and Bone.
Oh my god, I forgot about Shadow and Bone. Okay, yeah. Probably... I'll put that in the books. But other than that, if you don't have anything left to say...
I'm done.
Then please stand by.
Please stand by.
And please let us know what we should put in. With. Yeah, because we're not creative.
Hi, everyone. This is Brittany. Or hello again. What do you say?
I say, hey, everyone. It's me again, Brittany.